Do you find that back pain impacts your life? Whether you've spent a few hours in the garden or worked on your computer, back discomfort can limit our activities. So I wanted to share with you today one of my favorite myofascial self-care techniques that my back clients absolutely love. It's easy to do, and all you need is a blanket. All we're going to focus on is softening and melting into the blanket. So let's go ahead and give it a try. I like to use a blanket for this technique. So this is one of the techniques that we will make osteoporotic modifications. So we're just going to take our blanket and we are going to start to roll it. If you do have osteoporosis, I want you to make sure that you are using a lower roll. For those of us that have done this technique before, we can go up to a maximum roll. For those of you that do have less of a roll or know that you have a lot of restriction in through that lower tummy, I would encourage to go with less of a roll and make sure the tail part is going out towards your feet. So what we're going to do is we are going to take that towel roll and we are going to place it right above our pubic symphysis, right in the front of our pelvis. I want to make sure that you are well below those lower ribs and making sure that you're in that lower pelvis. So all we're going to do is start to place that roll. I am going with a full roll. So again, if you have osteoporosis, you can go with a narrower roll with the tail going out towards the feet. You're going to line that pubic symphysis up right at the bottom part of that roll. And we're going to slowly start to make our way down into position. And for those of you that have any type of neck issues, you can take your towel roll or you can take your hand, keeping your neck more in a neutral position as we go down. Now this is when we're going to do our first check-in. I want you just to make note in your body, what is the intensity that you are currently feeling? This could be anywhere in the body. It could be where that towel roll is. It could be in your back or pelvis or hips. And I want you to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 is no discomfort. 10 is the most excruciating discomfort you can imagine. If you are 3 or less, we are good to go. If you are greater than 3, I want you to modify the technique and lessen the roll that you have. So for those of us that are good to go, now we're going to start on our softening. We want to allow ourselves to become heavier and heavier into the floor. So almost bringing your awareness towards the back of the legs. Starting to imagine and feel the feet, back of the legs, starting to just sink, soften, and melt towards the floor. Feeling the front of our thighs getting heavier and heavier into the floor. Softening is all about surrendering. It's all about letting go. Starting to really bring that awareness into the lower glutes, back of the pelvis, seeing and feeling it's starting to sink towards the front of the body. At this point, we are going to do our second check-in. Have you been feeling some give? Have you been feeling some softening? If so, that's perfect. It means you're on that myofascial roller coaster. So I want you to keep continuing the softening throughout the rest of your body. But for those of you that haven't been able to allow yourself to soften, one of two choices. We can decrease that roll a little bit more or take the roll out completely and just focus on softening without that towel roll for today. Focus on surrendering. I like to almost imagine how heavy can my body get into the floor. Almost like it's melting completely into the floor. Starting to let the spine sink towards the front of the body. Feeling those ribs, chest, sink heavier and heavier into the floor. How much can you feel that front of the tummy sinking into that roll of blanket? Wherever you're meeting a little bit of resistance, a little bit of tension, draw your breath into it now. Almost imagining that you have a tube connecting right to that point. Draw your breath right into that tube, right into that spot. Almost as if you're just bringing your breath in to tap it. And as you feel that give, as you feel that softening, let your body sink even deeper. For some of us, this will be extremely tender in the front, especially if you have a lot of abdominal restrictions, have had C-sections, have scars. So it may be more difficult for you to start to let that pelvis sink into that towel roll. You may feel little bits of change. When you feel a nice give, a nice softening, that's a nice time to come on out. And now we're going to come out of that stretch. One of two ways. You can either roll to your side to come off that blanket, or we're going to press up into what we call a 4-point or tabletop position. So if you bring your hands along the side of your chest, we are going to inhale, and on your exhale, you are going to press up to a 4-point position. And our transition is going to be a little bit of just spinal motion, pelvic motion, doing a little bit of cat-cow. So we are going to start to allow our pelvis to tip forward. Chest is going to drop between the shoulders as the neck comes up into a little bit of extension. Only going to the point where you just feel a little bit of tension, a little bit of resistance. Then we're going to go ahead and draw our belly button up towards the spine, lengthening our spine as we tuck our tail under. Mid-back starts to round. And now just go through your own cycle of cat-cow, letting your pelvis roll forward, belly drops, chest drops between the shoulders. Just going within your range, and then drawing the belly button up, pelvis tuck under, mid-back rounds. And go through just a couple more repetitions on your own, within your own range of motion, never forcing. Each time you may notice that you're able to go just a little bit further. And one more repetition. And when you get to that last little bit, if you'd like to drop into a child's pose just for a moment, for those of you that may have any knee issues or range of motion issues, you can put a little bit of a towel roll behind your knees and start to allow yourself to come on. Butt comes back, arms go out. Or you can place your hands along your sides, head goes straight down on the mat. Just allowing yourself to soften into this position, opening up the spine. And then when it feels right, slowly coming back into a seated position.